Hello students, so today we will discuss about compounds of silicon. So first is silicon dioxide. Just like carbon dioxide, we have silicon dioxide, but silicon dioxide is a solid compound and it is one of the main component of earth crust. 95% of earth crust is made up of silica and silicates, and silicon dioxide is known as silica. It occurs in several crystallographic forms, and some of them are quartz and crystallobolite, tridymite, etc. Quartz is a comparatively known example for us. It is used in watches and wall clocks. You can see quartz is oftenly mentioned on watches and wall clock because it uses same compound in crystalline form. And we will discuss about this type of property of this compound later in this unit. Silicon dioxide is a covalent compound and one silica atom is attached with four other oxygens, and each oxygen is attached with two different silicons. So that's why if we take the average, then as average we can get two oxygen and one silica. So because of that it is referred as SiO2, but actually it is three-dimensional network solid. And it is the group 14 element, so just like carbon, if silicon has four attachment, then all of these four attachment will arrange around the silica in tetrahedral orientation. That means just like carbon with four attachments, we have tetrahedral shape. Similarly, silicon has tetrahedral arrangement of four oxygen around it. So structure of SiO2 is not as mentioned, but it is three-dimensional. Here, simple representation of a network solid is mentioned, which is planar two-dimensional, but actual compound will be three-dimensional. Though this compound is almost non-reactive, that's why it is one of the major component of earth crust. If it is a reactive compound, then you will find comparatively very low amount of this compound. But if compounds are stable, then we can get higher quantity of it. So this is the reason why silica is main component of earth crust. So it is almost non-reactive. That means it won't react with compounds in normally. Silicon oxygen bond enthalpy is very high, which makes it non-reactive. So that's why it is resistant of attack by halogen, dihydrogen and most of the acids and minerals even at the elevated temperature. So at lower temperature compounds may be non-reactive, but silica is even non-reactive at a higher temperature. However, it is attacked by HF and NaOH. So as mentioned here, SiO2 with NaOH forms Na2SiO3 and SiO2 with HF forms SiF4H2O. Silica form this type of compound with other metals too, but at very high temperature. So this compound is non-reactive, but at certain elevated temperature it will react with most of metals and it forms this type of compound. Now this compound is commonly known as slag. Slag compounds are lightweight, they have comparatively lower density, and at higher temperature, when all of the materials are molten, slag will float on the surface of liquid or molten state. That means in purification of metals, if other compounds or other impurities are present in form of metal, then we can use SiO2 to remove those metals. All you have to do is add SiO2 with the mixture of impure metal, and impurities will combine with SiO2 to produce slag. And slag has comparatively lower density. So when we heat the mixture, molten metal will be at the bottom side and slag will float on the upper side. And we can remove this slag. So silica is used in metal abstraction as well, and you will learn about it in standard 12. So in uses of quartz, quartz has one of the exceptional property. It is piezoelectric material. Now piezoelectric material have a specific tendency to produce electricity with the application of force. That means when we press the quartz or piezoelectric compounds, it will produce electricity. And same can be obtained in reverse form. That means if you apply electricity to the piezoelectric crystals, it will give us mechanical work. So because of this property, it is possible to develop extremely accurate clocks. That means by applying electricity from the cell, we can produce accurate mechanical work which lead us to mechanical clocks. And similarly, with the application of force, we can produce electricity. Simple example, household kitchen lighters. We know that when we press the lighters present in kitchen, we can see spark of electricity on top of the lighter. It represents with the application of force, we can produce electricity in piezoelectric crystals. Second compound is silicons. So they are group of silicon polymers which have R2SiO2 as a repeating unit. We can put different type of alkyl and aryl group in place of R, so we can get different type of silicon. The starting material of the manufacturing for the silicons are alkyl or aryl substituted silicon chloride RnSiCl4-N. Now, as we discussed earlier, silicon is group 14 member, and just like carbon, it has normal coordination number 4. That means usually it forms 4 bonds. So total number of bonds with silicon will be 4. So if R is equal to, let's say, 1, then Cl will be 4 minus 1, that means 3. Total 1 alkyl or aryl group with 4 chlorines. If R is equal to 2, then Cl will be 2. If R is equal to 3, then Cl will be 1. Total number of attachment with silicon will be 4. And hence we have this formula. When methyl chloride react with silicon in presence of copper as a catalyst at 570 Kelvin temperature, it produce various type of methyl substituted chlorosilane for formula MEsicL3, Me2SiCl2, Me3SiCl. As mentioned, total number of attachment with silicon will be 4, and in small amount of MESi 4. That means with silicon 4 different groups of methyl will be attached. And in next step, hydrolysis of dimethyl dichlorosilane followed by the condensation polymerization yields straight chain polymers. Now condensation polymerization, that means in this type of polymerization technique, small molecules will be removed and two different monomers will attach with each other. So whole reaction is mentioned with methyl chloride and silicon. We can produce CH3 twice SiCl2. On hydrolysis, it produces CH3 twice SiOH twice. And on condensation polymerization, H2O molecules will be removed and two different monomers will combine with each other. That means one of the molecule will release whole OH and second molecule will release H. So you will get H2O removed from the molecule. That means small molecule will be removed and one silicon will attach with oxygen of other silicon, and you will get polymer as mentioned here. We have repeating unit CH3SiCH3O, and mainly silicons are very non-reactive compounds, so their uses are based on this property. Next compound is silicate. We have various different type of forms of silicate as mentioned. Some of the examples are feldspar, zeolite, mica and asbestos. But basic structure of unit of silicates is SiO4 4 minus. It is tetrahedral compound with 4 different oxygens in -1 oxidation state. So here is a basic structure. At the center of this tetrahedron we have silicon and 4 different oxygens are present at the corner of tetrahedron. In silicates, either the discrete unit is present or number of such units are joined together in a corner by sharing 1, 2, 3 or 4 oxygen atoms per silicate unit. So depending on the attachment with adjacent silicates, we can get different type of forms of silicates. Here we have such example. First we have discrete silicate. That means we have a tetrahedron. At the center of this tetrahedron we have one Si atom and 4 oxygens are present at the corner of this tetrahedron and they are marked with red circle. If they share one common oxygen, then this type of structure will obtain. Here we have only one common oxygen, or one of the oxygen is shared by two different Si or silicates. With two common oxygen, we have two different type of possibility. First is mentioned here. We have ring type structure. As we can see, each SiO4 or silicate shares two oxygen with adjacent silicates. So that's why we can get these type of star-like shape or ring structure. Second possibility is this type of straight line structure. Each silicate shares two oxygen in this case as well, but they are present in straight line. Now when they share three different oxygens, we have again two different possibilities. First is, as mentioned, we have two oxygen common structure here. When we place another same type of structure at the adjacent of this first structure, you will get this type of structure. We have two different lines attached together. So each silicate shares three oxygen, 1, 2 and 3, with three different adjacent silicates, and you will get this type of structure. Similarly, when ring type of silicates attach together, they will form this type of structure in which we have three common oxygen. Let's say if we talk about this silicate, then we have 1, 2 and 3 oxygens at the adjacent, shared with adjacent silicates. And in last example, we have this type of structure in which all of the four oxygens are shared. For that we need two different layers. All of the previous examples were single layer. In this case we need two layers. So let's say bottom layer is our main layer and we are talking about the bottommost or silicate present at the center. So already three of the oxygens are shared within the same layer, and fourth oxygen present at the top of the silicate is shared by this top silicate, which is not member of bottom layer. So that's how you will get four common oxygen structure. And the last compound is zeolite. If aluminum atoms replaces few silicons atom in the three-dimensional network of silicon dioxide, you will get aluminosilicate compounds. Now these aluminosilicate compounds have many different type of shapes depending on the addition of aluminium. With a different quantity of aluminium, you will get different type of shapes from the zeolites, and they are also known as feldspar. So we have two different type of compounds, and these compounds are negative by charge. We need positive ions to neutralize the negative charge. Here we have some examples of few zeolites. So first we have basic line diagram which represents the shape of zeolite, and bottom we have illustration of 3D zeolite structure. So as we can see, we have different type of shapes and sizes of zeolite depending on the quantity of aluminum present in it, and so that we can get different type of zeolites. Now because of these type of shapes and sizes of pores, that means empty space present inside the zeolites, we can get unique property from the zeolite. They act as shape selective catalyst. That means they give us catalytic reaction based on the shape, not by the nature or chemical reactivity. So because of this type of shape selective catalysis, they are used as a catalyst in petrochemical industry for cracking of hydrocarbon and isomerization. As for example, ZSM5. Now use in cracking of hydrocarbon can be assumed as they act as a filter. They act as normal filter for molecules. If you want specific type of change of hydrocarbon from crude oil, then we can use zeolite. They will filter out all the different shapes and sizes, and they allow only specific shape and size. That means we can filter out the unwanted chains of hydrocarbon and we can get specific chains of hydrocarbon. That's why they are very useful compound.